Hello, everybody. Hi, beautiful Michelle. You're here with us today, with me today. I am getting the privilege of interviewing the amazing, beautiful, intuitive, and very special soul, Michelle Fielding. Usually she interviews me. Today I have the absolute gift and honor of picking her mind, talking about some topics that I think are really pertinent right now. Um, and as her and I discussed, coming from a space of absolute love to support everyone who is on this consciousness awakening journey. Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you to just introduce yourself. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but please share with us, in your words, who you are and what you do. Um, at this current time.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Farrah. We've done a few things together. It's nice to have the dialogue going in the other direction. So what I do currently is I get intuitive downloads, or I can remote view or kind of see a timeline on what's happening in the world, normally from a military perspective. Um, and I am able to help my audience to navigate through what can be a very confusing storyline around us. Is Musk good? Is Trump bad? All every day it changes. And So far, I've been able to more or less see over the top of all of that and help guide people through where we're actually headed. So that's basically what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, you do it really well, and it's so needed. I mean, we've got everyone doing their own thing in their own signature, and I love that what you expressed around, coming from that higher view, because I feel like right now the only way to make sense of the chaos, and I feel that the chaos that's still to come, is to be able to look at that higher view, and maybe not everyone is able to do that yet, although they all have the ability. So you've been doing your work for a very long time. You are an incredible channel and intuitive. Also working with, just chat a little bit about who you work with. I think it's the Great White Brotherhood, how you sort of got into it, and how do you offer coaching to other people, to businesses, and how you work with those two things together.
So my background is that I learned to work with angels, actually. And angels are part of the Great White Brotherhood. And in connecting with another teacher called Diana Cooper, this is some time ago now, I was able to understand that the Great White Brotherhood is like a team of ascended masters that oversee the teachings on earth, the spiritual teachings. And so after I had connected with the angels some years ago, I started to work with some of those masters more closely. And I was able to then channel down information. So this is information about spiritual knowledge, um, how to act in certain situations, how to come from a heart space and to negate excessive ego so that you can walk the spiritual pathway. So that's where I've come in from. In terms of how I'm using that these nowadays, is like we were saying, I've been using it on to help people on my channel, but also I help business leaders who have got an inclination towards a spiritual journey, and they might be trying to incorporate the business world with this spiritual journey, which is fascinating to see, because if you go back only, say, 4 years ago, on an app like, say, LinkedIn, which is about a professional app where people from the business world tend to mingle, if you like, and headhunt and things like that. If you go back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, to put a spiritual post on LinkedIn would have been met with some disdain.
Mm.
But now it's actually getting a lot of views. It's a lot of people are connecting. A lot of people are looking for that additional element to their sort of business strategy. So what we're seeing is that business leaders are now starting to lead with consciousness, in combined with strategic goals, rather than just looking at profit margins for the sake of, making a profit. So I also work in that area as well.
And that is so cool. And like it's so amazing if we look at the times from pre-COVID to now, how consciousness has evolved and how it's spilling into all fields and structures and industries. So it is actually really exciting and heartwarming because if, sometimes we can get a little bit stuck in, oh my God, it's the doom and gloom. And if you zoom out, just even that in and of itself is such a huge win. So bringing awareness into all fields, and that's yeah, very, very special. Um, so Michelle, today I thought it would be really cool to chat about the whole Trump situation. We'll call it EPI, the EPI list, Elon Musk. And then I also want, so I know you've put out a lot of videos about it, all these different things, a new channel from a military perspective around it. I thought maybe we could condense some of those videos. I'll share with you a little bit what I've got. You share with me what you've gotten, and we can help just navigate through some of this very strange stuff that's going on. So the first question I'm going to ask to you is, let's start with the argument between Trump and Elon. I'll share what I got, but I'd love to hear what you have around that, what you've been channeling around that.
Yeah, so the Elon and Trump arguments, because there's now more than one, is a distraction, because Elon Musk is actually helping to put together a financial system, a new communication system, a whole new infrastructure behind the scenes. And what they're trying to do is just distract from that while that's being done. He's also working with Mohammed bin Salman, who is also creating sort of a mirror structure over in the United Arab Emirates. And so to keep people away from what they're actually doing, they create this narrative on the surface. That's not actually how they feel about each other.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's what I got. I actually got that they were still working together, but they needed also the deep state or the dark structure to think that they were at loggerheads. And this does tie into the epi list because that is a complex thing in and of itself. We'll get there. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for Elon to come at Trump regarding, throwing in the Epstein thing and then suddenly then putting the list out, it's very strategic, is what I'm being shown. Um, and also what I've kind of been shown is like Trump has said, sort of, I'll take one for the team, I will take a hit for the team because of course there is, I feel, and what I'm being shown, long set up, like a setup from long time ago to try and dismantle the MAGA movement. And so we can also get to the whole Iran situation, but let me just try and word this as carefully as possible, or not carefully, as mindfully as possible. There is when you only have a certain amount of options and cards to play, looking at the outcome and how it'll affect humanity, playing the outcome and card that has the least detriment to the collective. And so this is also what makes me always so amazed by how I think Trump is such an incredible service to other soul, because knowing to take on a role, knowing that it could paint him in a bad light, but for the betterment of humanity is actually pretty heroic and amazing. So I don't know how you feel about that, or how that speaks to what you've been given.
So I made that video about Epstein quite some time ago, so I'm just trying to remember all of it. But basically, what they were telling me at the time was that that was like a CIA operation. That was a sting operation going back many years, where it was obviously all set up using Epstein to pull in, the perpetrators so that they could actually get them. And in amongst those perpetrators, they also had white hats. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you might have names on there like Trump or whoever else we can think of right now, but they were actually in there doing doing the sting operation. That was all part of it. And Epstein is not a good guy. I'm not saying he is, but in order to make the whole operation work, you had to have people alongside him who he thought were his friends in order to do the honey trapping on him. So if you put him next to Trump, who's more probably more strategic even than Epstein, then you would see how the link there began. But was Trump a perpetrator? No. He was part of the, at least in the beginning, getting that honey trap scheme set up. So that's, and then this argument about releasing the list, that is all part of bringing attention to the list. That's not about necessarily pointing the finger at Trump, although if they do that initially and then later on it's seen that he's actually the good guy in it all, again, that's another strategy. Because everyone there at the moment is quick to say, oh, I knew that Trump was a bad guy. There's those pictures of him with so and so and so and so. And then later you flip it back to say, actually, this is what was going on. So you play the game. They're playing a strategic game.
Mm. Yeah, that's what Spirit told me. There's a lot, there are not necessarily everybody on that list is bad. I suppose people's big question is why would Trump make such a big deal about we're going to give you the files, give you the list, and then all of a sudden sort of light everyone to say there's no list? I have an answer for that, but I'm very curious around your answer. And then, play it off like people who are, especially people who are conscious and awakening and who've been looking into these things, really fueling up that community, going, hey, we're being totally gaslit here. You spoke about it, Pam Bondi spoke about it, and now you
Yeah.
say it doesn't exist.
So what it's doing is when they go back and forward like that, they're watching the reactions of the people around them or the people that are under surveillance. Okay. So if you're a rat in the system, and one day they're saying it's Trump, they're what and the person who's the rat is then jumping on board with, yes, it was Trump that was involved. You catch the rats. So by going backwards and forwards, it unsettles the people that who are still under surveillance to see which way they go, to see where their loyalties are.
Okay.
That's what that is. It's all still an operation to see how people react. Which team are they going to choose? So
Okay.
when you start making a division, is it Trump? Is it Elon? You see where people run. Do they go to Elon? Do they go to Trump? Or do they just stay in the middle and say, well, let's just see how this all plays out? I'm not sure. Or do they stick with who they truly believe in? Do they say, I believe in Trump and I believe in Elon? And this is just a strategy. It's just to see how the people in their teams are responding.
Okay. I also got some information around that should that list get released, it would cause a lot of chaos. So, and that humanity is not necessarily ready for that. Um, and it's very complex and layered. And I don't personally feel Trump knew prior coming in how so let me try and find the right words. Yeah, I'm always trying to think of my words. No, yes, I know he's been aware of it and all of those things, but they've also have ways to sort of look at how the reaction of the public would be and what the outcomes of certain moves would be on a collective level in terms of the average human person causing chaos. And I feel that they also then saw that it was that the humanity was not ready and it could potentially cause such chaos that it wasn't worth the chaos as well. And so there's also still some investigations, like you're saying, that's what Spirit showed me, going on around who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. But at the same time, it's also protecting what can happen around the globe if it all fully came out. So I think he was also
It's a layered operation.
very.
A very layered operation. So yes, you're exactly right. If you just got all the fallout in one go, which will affect the whole world, that could create a wave of such a wave that's so big that they might not be able to control it. So that would obviously make sense. So what they're trying to do is they're dipping in and out of that narrative so that people are gradually becoming more desensitized to the fact there could be these operations going on regarding paedophilia. But they're because people are still under surveillance in some other countries, they can't just release all of the list yet because it would impede and disrupt what they're still trying to do in other places. So it's more complex than like just putting out a list. So
Very,
you're
very complex, very complex. I think again the greatest question was why keep saying you're going to do it. There was all this lead up with Cash Patel, Pam Bondi. We've got it. It's on our desk. It's coming out first thing, and then to retract like that. I think that's again a strategy, but I also think it's mixed with, whoa, that was our intention, and I do believe it is still the intention. But came what when you're in a 5D chess game, it's constantly evolving your strategy and your outcomes. So you're constantly looking at what the outcomes are going to be. And I think it also has a great deal to do with the public outcome and the public going into a space of rage and so monitoring that so it doesn't become unsafe for people. It's also partly what I've been shown. So like you said, you kind of gauging the consciousness, gauging where people are at in terms of responding to that. It's and it also leads to so many other big things, the Epstein thing, right? To like
yes.
disclosure.
Yes, because it goes in at the all different levels of government and security and probably military, and it affects every aspect of the world on every layer. Why they announced it all and then pulled it back, I haven't actually had a chance to channel that this week, but I still sort of go with the idea that it's just all a way to get the public aware of the dialogue. Because people love to hate Trump, and any marketing is good marketing. So if it gets people talking about Trump in any way, that's all good in the longer term. Because when the storyline flips back, they'll see that actually he was the good guy behind it all the time, all along. So part of it is leading people psychologically into a little bit of a trap as well, because they get trapped into thinking Trump's, again, as their narrative always likes to lead them to believe, that he's not the good guy. So you play into that for a little while, and then you pull it back, and then you show them the evidence that actually he's not the bad guy. So there's all different things going on. There's psychology, there's strategy.
Layers, yeah, there's psychology. There's also the fifth dimensional layer, the fourth dimensional layer, and the third dimensional layer, and yeah, very complex. It's very, very complex.
Mm.
It's the same thing I got around with the whole, Iran and taking out the nukes and stuff like that. I when you're forced into a corner, because some of these things have been pre-set up for him. So he's walked into a space where there's pre-set up traps for him too. And so for Trump, he constantly has to navigate the pre-set up opposing sides traps and sometimes choose maybe he wouldn't want to make a choice between the three options, but he's forced into a corner. And so how can he choose the choice that has the most minimal damage? Because I still definitely see an agenda from a dark structure to um, try and dismantle him and throw him off. It's like a desperate attempt, but the whole team has got to be aware of that. That's what I'm kind of getting around all of that stuff. Did you channel anything about that particular story in Iran?
So when I've been looking at Iran energetically, they're actually very high vibrational over there already. And I found that what was going on with Iran was that the white hats were already in there dismantling it some time ago. But because the narrative to everybody is this argument between Israel and Iran. In order to stop it all, if they take out the nuclear weapon, so Israel is saying, oh, Iran's got nuclear weapons, so we have to keep attacking them because they've got nuclear weapons and they're going to come at us. If you take out all the nuclear weapons from Iran, then they can't argue about that anymore. Now they have to stop. So that's what the strategy was there. And the strategy wasn't to hurt people, it was just to stop the nuclear weapons.
That whole narrative that was been going on backwards and forwards around nuclear weapons.
Yes, it was about it. Well, this is my understanding. Israel were repeatedly, from my understanding, attacking Iran or saying they were going to attack Iran or having a standoff because Iran, in their opinion, had nuclear weapons. So by going in and dismantling the nuclear weapons, now Israel don't have a motive to continue that opposition to Iran. So basically, you diffuse everything. Now nobody's got any reason to retaliate with anyone. So that was my understanding of that situation. But also, my understanding of that situation is that the government has been infiltrated by white hats anyway. So that is actually, from what I can see, actually all under control over there. But again, we have to create a narrative for the people. So that was how I was shown it, and it was explained to me.
Very,
Excuse me.
very, very interesting. So in your opinion, when do you see timeline wise, or do you ever get to timeline wise in terms of like how many more years we have this sort of slow burn actually around these operations until Earth is sort of really anchored into, because I see it quite a long time, old Earth, new Earth running around alongside each other, but maybe you see something very different to me. What are your timelines around that? What do you get around that?
So a lot of that is dependent on how quickly they can get technology in place, because as we're moving into the technological age, the golden age, and so a lot of warfare will change in the future. It won't be warfare; it'll be a peace plan, because there'll be no the arsenal on the ground, the military arsenal on the ground, hopefully will be dismantled, and everything will be controlled from space by the worldwide military peace plan, which effectively means that everything is done under Starlink. But in order for all of these things to go through Starlink, in terms of voting and the new quantum computing and the new consciousness IDs and things like that, you have to actually have all the technologies in place and set up and ready to go. But the timeline is dependent on that. It's dependent on being able to get the infrastructure and the technologies ready. And it's also dependent on getting everybody around the world signed into the peace plan and in agreement about how they're going to operate under the doctrine of the space plan. The space plan doctrine. There's a Space Force doctrine, and that is the rules and protocols and regulations of each region around the world and how they need to act in the future in terms of how they respond to their citizens, how they engage in financial structures, how they involve their military setup. There's lots of layers to it. But there might still be negotiations going on around that, like who has what cryptocurrency, control of what cryptocurrency in what region it might be. It could be that. Again, it's very layered.
Very
It's not.
layered. So are you getting like a specific day, a year, or are you just, because I know that from what Spirit showed me, the singularity point of us getting there, where what you're talking about, is set. So it's 100% set, but there are different routes we can go. So very hard to predict how or how long it'll take. to get to that point, because it's going to be reflective of the amoeba, like call it the consciousness is one amoeba that sort of works together. So depending on how quickly the consciousness of the planet evolves, depends on how quickly we get to that singularity point.
I think the technology will be ready around 27, 28. And I think once people then start working through the different forms of technology to do voting and have devolved, that they can, it will, everything will, will start to be devolved. And so once people start having more control over, excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat.
Take a little sip.
It's gone very dry. Once people around the world start having more control over their governments, if they even have governments anymore, they're making their own decisions and the monetary system changes, then the consciousness will go up. And I think that will go up in about 2032, which is the predicted date for the golden age. That was the pinnacle of it, when the 1,000 years of peace begins. So I think the technology comes first. And I think that's going to be around 27, 28, gives people time to start engaging with that. That changes the consciousness because the sovereignty comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you reach the golden age, the point of height, the most heightened point of consciousness in 2032. So that's how I'm seeing it at the
Love
moment.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know your body of work really well. And it's very, you know what, and it's exciting because 2032 is not far away. And what you're saying about 27 is actually very in alignment with the astrology of year 2027. I was just talking to my beautiful friend Diane, who's this incredible master astrologer. And we were talking about tech and we were talking about 2027. And she said over the next 5, 10 years, how we're going to have a lot more technology come out. So, and it's going to be supportive technology. So I think there's a lot of things people can really lean into in terms of things to look forward to and to not have attachment towards, but eagerly, await with patience that they're like step if people can watch something like this and step into the knowledge that through their own inner alchemy journey, through their own inner work, they have contributed to the speeding up of our planet getting to where it needs to go, where it's actually in the betterment of humanity. Coming back to another subject you touched on, crypto, always love to talk about it. um, Talk to me a little bit about the cryptos you're looking at. I have looked at the cryptos in terms of the energy they hold, specifically XRP, Cardano, Bitcoin, etc. So I'm interested in what you have been getting around how crypto is going to be used. Of course, we understand blockchain technology, but the cryptos that, yeah, you that have been coming through for you with your channeling.
So I haven't done crypto for a little while. That's going back a year ago. So I'm just going to
Give it
try and
a
remember
little
that.
smile. It's a cute little smile.
Um, so I don't generally look at each one like XRP, XLM. I don't generally look at each one like that. I look more at the overall plan. And what they were showing me was that Bitcoin Plus is a currency that's going to be available to what they call the commanders or the ambassadors. And this is the people in each region of the world who are going to be assigned like a lead position, hopefully through our voting for that. And that they can trade with each other using Bitcoin Plus. So if they're a commander or an ambassador, they're normally going to be in government or military or something like that, a structure, where in the past we've had not a lot of control over what they're spending the money on. But the Bitcoin Plus, because it's my understanding is that you can see everything that it's doing, you know exactly what it's been spent on. I think they call that an open source platform.
Open
It
ledger.
means, yes, ledger. Thank you. It means that if you have an ambassador in one region buying something from another region, you can see what it is they're spending the money on. So Bitcoin Plus, I had that explained to me that that's why it's going to be on an open source ledger. So they're not going to be able to, between regions, hide what they're spending money on. And so it will cut back on things like corruption and money laundering. And we'll be able to see exactly that what we voted for, they then spent the money on that. So an example would be like this Doge situation right now, where they had a big fund of money and they were just basically spending it on all sorts of corrupt organizations and people. And in the future, if they're using Bitcoin Plus, they won't be able to do that because it will be seen exactly what each location is spending on what. So
Now,
that's
is Bitcoin Plus different to Bitcoin?
yes, because it's only for the government, military, and the layers that they call the ambassadors, basically.
Can we
It
make you
won't.
can we make you an ambassador? Can we vote for you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
We need pure-hearted, open-hearted, self-actualizing souls in these positions. So yeah, that's really interesting, really, really interesting. I've looked at crypto more from a sense of personal individual sovereignty and wealth, and breaking free from systems. And so I've looked at the sort of more of the energetics behind the setup of the company. So that's something I would do is I would look at the consciousness of a business. I'd look at the energetics of, is it positively polarizing service to others or service to self? Um, and
I've just remembered what I channeled probably about a year ago now was Mbridge. Now, Mbridge is a platform for exchanging or running different cryptocurrencies through it. So it's like a SWIFT system, but it's for cryptocurrency. And what they told me at that time was that even though it's overseen by the Bank of International Settlements still, above that structure is the military team. So
okay.
the military team are ensuring that the Bank of International Settlements is operating Mbridge, which is a multi-currency cryptocurrency platform, in line with the protocols again of the Worldwide Military Peace Plan. So that was another very interesting thing, which then leads down to where you're looking, which is the vibration or the intention of each crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Mohammed bin Salman was very involved with the Mbridge platform.
Are you
Because
saying that it's already running like that with through the Enbridge platform, or is it going to be running like that?
I just got a yes on that. So I think it's running, even if it's in the background, it's set up ready to go.
And this is where I think XRP also is much quicker than Swift, everything. I think where they'll utilize the technologies through certain of these positively polarized cryptos, because I think it's already in place actually. And I'm not going to say online why, I'll tell you privately, but um, I definitely get that it's already all being tested, set up, and it's really about flipping a switch, and there's a timing to all of that. Um, so
Yes.
it's very exciting. It's really interesting. It's really interesting the information that you've had come through. Just to switch gears a little bit because we don't have too much time left. I wanted to touch base. I looked a little bit at your video around what you channeled, the infamous topic of, is the Earth round or flat, or what's going on with the Earth? Um, I looked at this, channeled this information, sure, about 4 years ago, and it
Did
was
it
interesting.
correlate? Did it?
I'll
Did
tell
it?
you what I got. Well, yeah, I'll tell you what I got. Then you can share what you got. I heard from you. I think it definitely correlates. They showed it to me as spherical, almost like a saucer with like um an etheric sort of dome around it. I also see that there's more continents and I see the ice wall, etc. But they also said to me and showed me that it appears to you it changes. So the earth changes. It can look, if you were looking at it from outer space through conscious astral travel, it appears to people in its form depending on where the person's consciousness is at. So it's a living organism. And so is it flat, is it round, is it this, is it that? It is almost all of those things, but at its core, if I had to draw it, um sort of looks like, don't know if you can see. No, no.
Blur. Yeah.
And there's like
Yeah.
a saucer, there's like an etheric dome, um, but it will meet you where you're at. Is the basic of what I got. So please share what you got because I found it really interesting and quite profound actually.
So years ago, I was on Kelly Rivers, and somebody, I was on with her quite often, and there was this one person that used to ask me constantly, is Earth flat? I didn't have any interest in it at all, but this one day I did a tiny little bit of channeling around it, and it did say it depends on your perspective, i.e., your vibration. And
Oh,
then I didn't think about it anymore. And then recently, I've been seeing an awful lot of things, particularly on X, about flat Earth. And a lot of my group on locals.com often ask me about the flat Earth. And to be honest, I was thinking, I'm not really very interested in it, but I'll have a look because so many people are talking about it. And then as I started to channel it, it became more interesting. I became
it is
like very,
interesting.
very interesting. So what they showed me was exactly what you were saying, that you've got this flat Earth, the Earth is flat, and then you've got a firmament, which is the plasma around. I think that's what we call it, the plasma, and that this firmament has layers within it. So Elon Musk was saying that as the rockets go up, they can't go through the firmament. And I wanted to understand why they couldn't go through the firmament. And it's because the firmament equates to the spiritual hierarchy. It equates to a spiritual vibration. And so when the rocket meets the firmament, the density of the rocket is not compatible with, say, the first layer of the firmament. The further you go
Of
in,
that, it's like a plasma substrate that can repair itself, but it's holding cohesion. It's holding the cohesion.
yes, it's holding everything together. But if something dense, like a rocket, was to hit it, it's not the right, you can explain this better in quantum science, but it's not the right frequency to be able to go into that matter. So what they're basically saying is when they can design a vehicle that's able to vibrate more finely, in terms of light, frequency, and sound, then that vehicle, whatever that might be, whether that's a ship or whatever it is, it will then be able to pass through to whatever level of density it vibrates at. And so then I asked, so what's on the other side of it? Because each layer of the firmament is a part of your spiritual journey. So basically, when we are connecting to our spiritual meditations or the Great White Brotherhood or angels or whatever you believe in, they all reside in different layers of the firmament. And once you get to the top layer, when your vibration is ready to go into enlightenment, you then pass through to another area beyond that, which is God, the oneness, the void, the creator, the divine source, whatever has meaning for you. And so when they were saying that when people have a near-death experience, their body goes into the firmament, and whatever they gain from that experience depends on their vibration and soul contract in that moment. So they see what they're supposed to know to bring it back. It's fascinating.
Like all the dimensional, so dimensions are just harmonics. They're just sine waves of a particular
Yeah.
energetic in terms of what it's vibrating at. So I'm not
Yes.
going
And
to get into the geometry, light and sound, and the quantum stuff now, but it's really interesting because basically all the dimensional fields are represented in what's holding together the cohesion for Earth, and so in order for, say, for craft spaceships to come through into our planet, they've created vehicles that are able to move through and to adapt specific harmonics in order to match the different levels of that sort of plasma. It's an etheric field to pass through it. Okay, and then we can talk about stargates and how stargates open within that for us to receive, light rays, because like even our sun, as I'm shown it, emits a specific frequency and array, and then there's a sun behind our sun, and then we know there's other planets and stars and rays. So I equate everything to rays of light. So I can sometimes see deep down in the galactic center, a blue ray might open a turquoise ray that we haven't had access. So a stargate will open so that ray can directly come through um, and support the conscious evolution of Earth. So I actually think that because we're running out of time, this should be our next conversation, and we should both go and channel a little bit more about it in regards to the etheric field,
Mm.
stargates, and rays coming through that stargate, and what's beyond that void. There's still other universes and galaxies that exist also in that void. So it would be quite interesting thing to have to chat about a little bit, to take a little bit further if you're keen.
Yeah, so I didn't go as far as, like you're saying, asking about the sun and the planets and the stars. And then some of the people that had already watched it had come back and asked me to look at that. So that would be very interesting. The other thing that they were saying was that outer space is at the end of the flat. So you've got the flat Earth, and outer space is not up, it's to the side, to the outer edge of the flat. So that's where you get the ice wall. And then that is your outer space. And then within that outer space, let's say we're stood over here now on outer space, there's the ice wall and flat Earth over there, and we're on the other side. You then might have other beings, but again, they might vibrate in a way that they can go up into the firmament in their vibrational resonance, even though they appear to be on this level. So again, it's all about perspective. They can
All
reach
about
up
perspective. It's so interesting.
they can reach up with their consciousness. So let's say, for instance, there was a Bigfoot or something, I don't know, on the outer space. Um, they might be there because they are actually able to reach up to a certain level of consciousness within the firmament. And again, even over on our side, all of us, we reach up depending on our individual journey and ability and vibration. So we all see things differently based on our soul contract, our vibration, what
Like our
teachers we
signature,
engaged
yeah.
with.
All about
Yeah,
what our soul's data collection. It's interesting
yeah,
though, because Spirit's always shown me that Earth originally had a grid system, a diamond grid system that protected her, right? And I think this is even below the firmament, or what you're talking about, this etheric plasma field. And then the AI got in and created it, underneath that diamond grid, created an energetic false matrix system. And so the visual they've always given me is for ascension, is that we're not breaking. It's not like we're going to go break that black box programming, that false matrix system. We, through our inner alchemy, which is in direct correlation to the what you using around that plasma field, as you move through the layers, as we move through those layers and we alchemize and we actualize within ourselves, we transcend the false matrix system, the AI system.
yes. Because it's like the analogy of the spaceship was too dense to go through. But if it was vibrating at, say, fifth dimension, let's imagine it's you and me are the spaceship. Once we vibrate to fifth dimension, we can pass through it. It's almost like we're invisible. We can go through. So that's exactly how I understand it as well. They also said to me that there can be a layer that we can see from here, which is so like the sky and things that we think we can see. That could be like a blue. Is it the blue beam they call it? What's it called, that project where they can put
Project Bluebeam, yeah.
Project Bluebeam, and that it's not just us that can create that, the galactics are creating it as well. So they do create a picture for us so that we think we're in a blue sky and we have a sun and we do this and do that. Now, I haven't gone into the elements yet, the sun and the moon and things. That's the next thing I'm going to do. But it's fascinating that when we look up, that's actually been placed there. And beyond that is the firmament, it's behind it. And it's like a picture's been put in front, like a picture's been put on the wall.
So you're saying it's like a projected holographic image.
Yes. And the galactics do it and we do it from Earth. We're both entities are creating that image so that we think we live on that type of or in that type of environment. But
Interesting.
beyond it,
I haven't gotten that information. I love to work with astrology, so I'm very, very curious about the stars and the planets because I directly feel the energetics of them and the themes that they roll out and the science of astrology that's been studied for thousands of years. I mean, there's just no, for me, there's no shadow of a doubt that it's very powerful. Um, yeah, and it exists. But I think that we're onto something here because I haven't even asked around what you're talking about. So I would love for both of us to go dive a little
yes,
bit deeper into this topic, kind of not share what you get and what I get, and then we like do a little mix mash and
ah,
build a
yes.
puzzle piece of what comes through.
When you talked about the diamond ray, I visually see that sitting on top actually of the dark matrix.
Yes, that's
And
how it's shown to me. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it would be the gateway, that the last gateway as you're coming up through the firmament, that is your last gateway or portal or stargate, or whatever. I don't understand those terms exactly, but that's your last initiation is the way that I've been taught. The way you have your levels of vibration is through lessons and spiritual work. And each time you do that, you absorb information in the terms of energy, which is codes and vibration and light and sound. So
Mhm.
each time that comes into your body, you vibrate more finely, and then you actually then equate to a different level of the firmament. And the final step is the diamond the diamond layer.
Yeah. The
That's what I'm
diamond
showing.
core. Yeah.
Now, something I saw yesterday, which I can't remember what it's called right now, but there is a telescope that can now see the God layer.
Oh, wow. Wow. Interesting.
It's now been able to go into what we would call God, source, creator. So they've got this telescope that's only just discovered it, like it's really just happened, like the last month or something. So now we can show God as an actual experience or layer, whereas before they couldn't prove it, I don't think. It was theory or theoretical.
Please send me that link. Please send me that link. I would love
Yeah.
to have a look at it. I haven't seen anything. We are running over time, so I'm going to say let's end the conversation here. It's been fascinating. It's always such a pleasure to chat to you and yeah, share my information, your information. You're very brilliant at what you do. Maybe you can leave everybody with just a little bit around how they can contact you, how they can support your work, how they can even work with you, what you've got on offer so people can find you.
Okay, so you can find me at my website, which is goldenheavenonearth.net. And I work with an app called locals.com. The reason, and that's for subscribers, although some content is paid and some content is free. The reason I have to do it that way is because on YouTube they keep censoring me. They keep giving me termination notices. So even though people get upset because I have to put it onto this locals app, that's the only way I can get the information out in its purest form. You can also follow me on X and Telegram and all the normal places, Truth Social, Threads, that's another new one. And at LinkedIn, if you want to work with me, if you have a business, or just you want to do personal development, you can also find me at LinkedIn.
Amazing. I will also link your stuff below. I'm just also going to sign off by sharing a little bit of I'm working. I've actually changed. I used to say I'm working with conscious astral travel. I've moved it up. I've been instructed by Spirit. Zero point activations is what I would call what I do, which is holding that space for people to go into a deep zero point energy, be able to work with the rays of light in the body, the geometries, the sounds, and more than anything, to hold a space where we can look at our shadow aspect, our limiting beliefs, our traumas from this lifetime, past lifetimes, bloodlines, and be activated in that release. So bringing awareness into it and actively working with the different rays of lights and geometries that are here to support us. So really switching on our own technology within. And I've said for a long time the days of healers and stuff are sort of moving away because it's about sovereignty. So how what I strive to do is to work with people in a way where I can support that, because we all do have blind spots. So I can see stuff. I don't like even the word psychic, because I think it's linked to us wanting to try and control our future, and we are coming out of fear of trying to control outcomes, where we really need to be grounded and settled and surrendered into the now moment and fully grounded into the body. So that's just a little around what I do. And my website is farrahweir.com. I'm also on Instagram. And I have a membership which you can join for free or donate, where we meet once a month. I'm also going to put this on Gnostic TV, so that's why I'm sharing a little bit about me, because I don't have all the abilities to, they upload it. So I don't know if they're going to put links and stuff. But I think that you have such a gift to offer the world. And I just want to say thank you for what you do and what you've been doing for humanity and continue to do. We are so blessed. No matter, and I know you faced some adversities. I know, as we all have, and you've still, fought the good, for lack of a better word, proverbial fight. But thank you for showing up and doing what you do to hold space for the collective. It's very powerful, and what happens here on Earth is going to ripple out. And yeah, I think it's made already galactic history. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. You've been a beautiful host. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, it's my first time.
We'll do another one. It's been nice. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Sending lots of love.